Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast pay-per-view, first pay-per-view of 2023. It is in the books. We have Deiveson, Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, quadrilogy, title fight number 4, bout number 4, something we've never seen before, but the big headliner, the one that everybody's talking about. We in Brazil. We got Glover Teixeira, former champion, versus Sweet Dreams Jamahal Hill. And I'll tell you, folks, if this means anything, this means this is a crossing roads. This is the new generation and the old guard. Can the old guard stave off the new generation? That's a question that I can't answer for you, but I do got my opinion, and I'm going to give it to you in a bit. Breaking it down with me, as always, folks, is the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself, AJ, brother, live in the flesh, 3-2 a pop on the board. It's even. How are you feeling, bro?
Ooh, you said it yourself, Derick. It's even, folks. But this week, I'm going to let you in a little secret.
Oh.
We're going to have a little mix-up of sorts on this record breakdown, man. We got a couple different picks headed into this one. This is a hard week to choose, Derick. Sure. There's a lot of these fights that I've been going back and forth on. I'm excited to break it down with you folks, man. Let's get to it. How you feeling, Derick, by the way?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling dangerous. I'm feeling ready. All the emotions that go into it, man. But I'll tell you what, I'm also feeling a little leery. And the reason is because, just as you said, man, this has been a hard card to just kind of pick through. We've had some fights drop. We've had all types of madness here. But I guess at this point, I'm feeling a little good too, AJ. And you want to know why? It's because of the people who tune into this program. That's why I feel good, man. Viewership has been going crazy. Subscriptions have been nice. Could always be better because we're aiming for 1,000 by the end of the year. But I'll tell you what, folks, you're really missing out if you aren't tuned into my boy AJ over on Twitch, Santa Fe Bomber, really breaking it down. You think we go in depth here? Well, you're right. We do go in depth here. But my man breaks it down a little bit different. So AJ, right off the bat, tell him about it, and then we'll jump into these fights, bro.
Folks, go check me out, twitch.tv, Santa Fe Bomber. What we're doing over there, yeah, I'm gaming, I'm having fun, but we're also giving you quick little snippets of that fight action, man. In between all the stuff, man, we're breaking down fights, we're showing past fights, we're showing you basically an inside view of what's going on in my head, as well as a little bit of inside view of what I'm seeing what Derick's posting on the Discord, man. So if you're looking for something that's just on that extra, just on the outside of what we're giving you to this, because this is a very in-depth breakdown, but if you're looking to get your bets in early, get ahead of that line that's going to be flip-flopping the entire as Saturday night comes, make sure you go check it out, twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber. We're there Monday through Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time to 9. And then we're mixing it up on the weekends. Usually I'll be there Friday night just, messing around. But either way, make sure you check it out. Drop us a follow. We're trying to get to 50 subscribers. You already know.
That's right. And listen, if you don't know your time conversions, go look it up. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? But AJ, man, without any further ado, folks, if you have not subscribed to the Bloody Water Podcast right here, Free Thinkers Club on YouTube, right? If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Do it now. You already know what time it is. Without any further ado, we're going to give a quick flash of the screen, folks. So get your screenshots ready. And if you are listening, we'll give you a very quick breakdown. All right, UFC 283 betting sheet is up, folks. I will give you a couple of seconds before I take it off of the screen, but for the uninitiated or for those who are simply just listening right now, we do have to let you know there's been, obviously, right, it's not going to be the same picks this week between me and you. Now, the ones that are our Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, I think it's only fair that we kind of flash it one more time and let them know, man. We have 2 of them, right? We have Gilbert Dorino Burns versus Neil Magny. We see him getting the upper hand there. And of course, you have Jessica Andrade, former champion in the strawweight division, moving up to the flyweight division, taking on Lucky Lauren Murphy, man. So those are going to be some good ones. So real quick, before we move on to the, back and forth between me and you, man, why do you think we're both feeling so high on Andrade and on Gilbert Burns here?
And I think it's because of being time tested. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily to say that Lauren Murphy and Neil Magny aren't time tested as well. I just feel like in the recent, what we've been seeing, Gilbert Burns, man, Jessica Andrade, the tiny Mike Tyson can get in there and do the work, and in a multitude of different ways, whether it's on the feet or ground. Do you feel me, or you seen something different, Derick?
I feel you 100%, man. I think that Jessica Andrade, through and through, man, she's shown that she has power that translates to different divisions, very battle-tested right there, and she's well-rounded, man. That's the thing. People think about her as just this heavy hitter. People forget she was a submission specialist coming into the big show. You already know what time it is. As for Gilbert Burns, man, Another dude. Yeah, you lost to Hamzat, man. The guy, the boogeyman that nobody wants to fight in the division. Neil Magny is another boogeyman, but often underrated, often overlooked. I just think that Gilbert Burns in this scenario, believe it or not, is the overlooked one, man. I think Neil Magny is riding a little bit of hype and people forgot. Gilbert Burns is not a man to be played with. Most recent, notable losses. This isn't like Kamaru Usman and Hamzat Chimaev. Come on, what are we talking about? Folks, we're going to talk about all of the other X's and O's and things of that nature. So check out, obviously, we just said, right, those are our consensus picks. That means that we're going back and forth on all the rest. We're going to explain it right now. You know what time it is. Now let's jump into this main card, brother. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
This is such a phenomenal sight right here, AJ, man. You have the old guard, Glover Teixeira, man, a dude who is 43 years old in the press conference talking about, I'm in my prime right now. Win or lose, I'm not retiring. And he's in Brazil. So to me, AJ, and I know this might seem a little counterintuitive, even though to me it makes clear sense, this almost feels like a walking off into the sunset moment for a Glover Teixeira, win or lose. The moment doesn't get brighter. The man has not fought in Brazil since he was on the prelims, but then he got Jamahal Hill. And some would argue that he doesn't deserve to be here. I would not argue that whatsoever. I would argue that this is probably one of the biggest tests for a Glover Teixeira because Yuri Prochazka, right? You passed the test until the last 2 minutes of the fight, right? But Yuri Prochazka, unconventional, hands down the whole time, hitting you with some weirdness. You got a very technical southpaw that's going to be trying to take your head off in front of you and showcase a little bit of the ground game that Paul Craig exposed against him a couple of fights ago. So literally, man, I'm going to ask you this off of the bat, AJ, and I need a sincere, honest answer. Is Jamahal Hill simply too young, simply too athletic, simply too much of a fighter who is truly the next breed, next generation to not win this fight against Glover Teixeira? I know that's a weird question, but ultimately I'm saying, is Glover Teixeira too old, man? Is the moment past?
I don't think so at all, Derek. Until we see it proven, and like you said, Glover had the win until he did in the Yuri Prochazka fight. But until we see Glover really start to fade off with the exhaustion, start to fade off with the timing, the speed, looking like he's a step behind, gets beat up, gets pieced up on the feet as well as outclassed on the ground, I'm not willing to call it for Glover, man. We've seen it time in and time out. This dude is a firecracker in the ring. He's going to be here to fight all the time, and he's a dog nonetheless. And going back to what you said earlier, Derek, about Glover being like the moment, either way, win or lose, this is Glover's moment, man. I think that's just because of the guy that Glover lives his life day to day as. He lives with an open heart, a good guy. He's always trying to help people. I was watching the Embedded series. Go check it out, folks, if you haven't. They do a great job where Glover was talking to the new champ, Paeta, the one that dethroned Izzy, and they were just talking, man. You could tell the exuberance of Glover opening up to somebody and teaching him. And because of that, I think a lot of good goes to Glover, and that's why he's riding this high, man. It's a very palpable high that Glover has going into this fight, which makes him a little more dangerous, man. He can flow in there. He can get in there. He can move. He can jive. And the bad thing about Glover, Derek, and tell me and agree with me, disagree with me on this if you will, you have to put Glover away. You're not going to go out there and outdance him. You're not going to be outpointing him. You're not going to be a Stephen Thompson in there against a Glover Teixeira. You're going to have to knock him out. You're going to have to submit him. We saw Yuri submit him. I don't think Jamahal Hill can do exactly that, Derek. Do you think he can put him to sleep? It seems like, I don't want to shy right to the numbers right away, but it seems like the odds makers are thinking that. Do you think he can knock him out?
I'll tell you what, this is not Sweet Dream Stadium. We're not in Las Vegas. This ain't the Apex, man. But if there is one man who can exploit the holes of a Glover Teixeira in terms of the striking, at least I do think it's Jamahal Hill. Yuri Prochazka came moments away from finishing Glover Teixeira himself. If you watch the fight back, man, Glover was in trouble a bunch of times. Now, his saving grace was he was able to jump on a single, able to jump on a double, and just kind of turn the fight around. But the other thing is that Yuri Prochazka is not an in-the-pocket fighter. He is not a technical... He's technical, but unorthodox, right? He's very much a wild man, and all of that craziness leads to a lot of weird actions. I think Jamahal Hill is going to stay tight. He knows the takedown is the game plan for Glover Teixeira, so it's going to be a matter of what lands first, man. Is it the right hand, left? I mean, we've seen that after Jamahal Hill got his arm snapped off, you know what I'm saying? He's still able to hurt you with both hands. It doesn't matter. But this is the thing. This is the big worry. And if you're a fan of this, of either of these fighters, you understand Glover Teixeira being able to take Jamahal Hill down and choke him or ground and pound finish is a very likely outcome, in my opinion. I think that could totally happen. But then again, Jamahal Hill is not some unproven dude who has only knocked dudes out in the first round and that's it. And people are asking, well, what happens if it goes past round one and it doesn't get the knockout? Is he going to be like, oh my God, my mind is blown, I'm so scared now? AJ, man, did this dude not just fight Thiago Santos Marreta 4 rounds in and get the finish? If that's not impressive, I don't know what is. Now, do you hold a win over Thiago Santos in the same light as you do Glover Teixeira's almost win over the other boogeyman of the division, Yuri Prochazka? What do you think?
Not necessarily. If this was a Marreta of old, the sledgehammer that's coming in and breaking people's faces, then yeah. But I feel like the time has shifted a little bit more in Marreta as well. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Derek. Jimmy Crute, Johnny Walker, OSP. There's a lot of these dudes that Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill is putting to bed. So you can't discount this guy. And to answer my own question earlier, I think the one thing that worries me is I think Jamahal Hill can knock out Glover. I think it's a very likely possibility because, like you said, Derek, Glover was hurt a lot in the Yuri Prochazka fight. Makes it very nervous, man. Makes me very. I've been back and forth on this fight, man, so much. And it's just hard to put down the old dog of Glover Teixeira, and that's kind of what I'm going for in this one, man. I mean, I think on the feet, on the ground, we're going to see a mix-em-up of sorts because I do think Jamahal Hill has gotten better in his ground game. I mean, you get your arm basically snapped in half. There's no way you're not working more ground game every single week, man, if not twice a week, if not twice a day. Jamahal Hill, I think, is game amongst games. So I don't know, man. This one has me a little leery, Derek.
And then that's when we jump into the numbers, man. Odds makers clearly see it in favor of Jamahal Hill, minus 125 for Jamahal Hill in Brazil. Are we forgetting about that? In Brazil. Now, if this was a fight that I thought was almost guaranteed to go to the judges, I would have a different perspective on this fight because this is Brazil. Let's not forget, man. You know what I mean? You got the hometown guy right here, Glover. But let's look at these prop bets, man. For Glover Teixeira, plus 225 for the submission victory. And that's not the greatest odds right there. You would think that they'd be a little more heavy in favor. But the heaviest bet right here is plus 110 for Jamahal Hill for the TKO, right? If you look at a decision, they don't really see it getting done. Even for Glover Teixeira, they plus 600 for a decision. You would think that would be money. But a lot of people think that this is going to finish within the distance. Now, AJ, if I had to ask you, what do you think the over and under on this fight is? What do you think?
Ooh, over and under on a 5-rounder, man. I'd probably say 2.5.
Ah, on the money, 2.5 right here. Now, what is the favorite in terms of the odds, the over or the under?
I'm gonna say the over, man. I think both of these guys can get it done in like the 4th. What do you think? What is it?
I'll tell you what it is. I mean, I already know the answer. Plus 180 for the over, minus 220 for the under. So the odds makers think that this fight is ending early. Judges are not going to be needed here. So I think that definitely sways not heavily in favor of one fighter at all, man. I think that like Glover could get the submission or Jamahal Hill can get the knockout. So this is what it's going to come down to because we can go X's and O's. We could speculate all day long. I think Jamahal Hill straight shots down the pipe are going to be very devastating for Glover Teixeira. We have seen time and time again that's actually one of Glover's biggest weaknesses, right? Uppercuts down the pipe, straight shots down the pipe, little hooks that are getting around that guard right there. If Jamal can land clean on one of these, man, it could be a short one, but if Glover takes him down, it's the same story here. So my final question to you, because clearly I feel like you could tell from the way that I'm talking about it, I like Jamahal Hill here. I think this is the new generation. This is the new guard. And I feel like this entire time, AJ, I've been wanting to pick Glover Teixeira. Actually, when I initially wrote up my picks, I picked Glover Teixeira. But I have to ask you this in full confidence and faith, man. If you pick Glover Teixeira, which, I mean, it's probably going to be the case, right? Do you feel good about it?
Not at all, Derek. It's funny you said that because my initial write down was Jamahal Hill. I thought I was going to be picking for the underdog. I thought there was going to be Jamahal Hill show all day long. Yeah. And then I look at the odds and it's, Jamahal Hill's the favorite. Like there's something weird going on around this card, and I'm not confident about my pick at all. Can Jamahal Hill get it done? Yeah. Can Glover Teixeira make this a dogfight, drown Jamal in some deep, bloody waters? 100%. This one's a very hard fight, man, but I'm seeing it the way the odds makers are. If Jamahal Hill's winning this, he has to knock him out. Me personally, though, I'm going Glover Teixeira. I'm going with the submission, and I'm taking the under at early to second round.
Okay. So you're taking the submission, though. That's really what we're picking right here. All right. Duly noted. I like Jamahal Hill. Give me the TKO, brother, because if Glover Teixeira does pull this off, man, we've never seen anything like it, really. You know what I'm saying? We've seen old wrestlers, like, wrestle their way to victory time and time again, but, like, a dude like Glover who is so, like, he got hands. People forget. He can get it done. I like Jamahal Hill. Give me a second-round TKO right here, man. I think that if he cracks the right way, I mean, we've seen this dude just obliterate people, right? So that's your championship matchup right here, folks, man. It's going to be a good one, and if you're definitive on anybody, you're probably wrong. You know what I'm saying? This needs to be back and forth. But we're going to very quickly transition from one title opportunity to another. And AJ, I want you to kick this one off, man. Break it down. What are you seeing here?
Woo, Derek, this one's a good one, man. I like the way you called it a quadplex, quadruplet, whatever you said, man. I like the way you phrased it. We got Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, the fourth fight, man. This one's going to be an interesting one. I feel like we've seen this fight 3 different times, the X's and O's have been outplayed and outsourced. We're going right for the storyline on this one, man. We got a very emotional Deiveson Figueiredo versus a Brandon Moreno who feels cheated, who feels gypped, who feels like he was been slighted a little bit. And as well as that, the look of both of these fighters, man. Brandon Moreno's eating chicken Caesar salads. He's hanging out. He's having a good time. He's enjoying his life. While Deiveson Figueiredo, he's sitting there. He's skinny. He's hurting. He looks to be a bit in a weird spot. We're expecting him to go up a weight class. If he does or not, we're going to see after this fight. This one's an interesting one, Derek. Do you see it? Do you think the X's and O's are out of the way, or are we going to see just another mix-em-up, crazy contest that we've never seen before from these two?
I think it's really tough to sit here and be like, oh, well, let's really break down technical styles. This is the 4th time these guys are fighting. At a certain point, you know each other's games. There's not too much under the sun that you could just bring out that you even feel would be effective to bring out, given you've already fought the man 3 times. Might have a couple little tricks, but nothing too crazy. So this might sound a little odd, man. I think this comes down to willpower. I think this comes down to who has emotionally won the battle. And that's a question that I want to ask you. Throughout 3 fights, we have a win for Deiveson Figueiredo, we have a win for Brandon Moreno, and we have a draw. And in that draw, you got to take into consideration Deiveson Figueiredo. If it weren't for some little ticky-tack, I mean, he would have won that. So it should be 2-1, theoretically. Who do you think has the emotional advantage in this one? Who's in whose head more?
Man, I actually think Moreno is in Figueiredo's head a little bit more. And because Figueiredo's been talking about that he's in Moreno's head, he's the one doing this and doing that. But, I mean, the one who's in the glass house is the one who always throws the stones. And it's interesting to see the Figueiredo in the eyes, in the face-off. He was looking around. He was warning, came in glasses. He wants to play the heel, but sometimes the heel isn't there for him. I don't know, Derek. Do you agree with me? You think it's the opposite? I
think that there's grains of truth in both perspectives, but I will say that Brandon Moreno, you got to feel for yourself. You have to hurt a little bit to know that you were the champion and you immediately lost it to the dude who raised you over his head after you won the championship. You know what I mean? So I think both of these dudes are probably both button heads that way, but the writing is on the wall for Deiveson Figueiredo because this has a little more of emotional impact. This man can't fight at 125 pounds again, and if he does, I mean, he's looking like how he looks right now on death's door. But that's nothing new because this man has been cutting ridiculous weight for a long time. This is what this matchup comes down to, in my opinion. Deiveson Figueiredo has shown throughout 3 fights he can hurt Brandon Moreno. Now, can we say the same for Brandon Moreno?
Not necessarily to the same level. Yeah, I think he can hit Figueiredo in trouble. I think he can put him in a combo, a piece-up that's going to have him hurt, have him grabbing onto something and trying to get out of danger, but not the same level of sting or pop that Figueiredo can deliver. I think the problem with Moreno, though, is this guy's tricky, man. You're going to be throwing up a whole bunch of different stuff, and you're not going to be able to read what's going on in front of you as Moreno hits you with that 4-piece combo and leaves you with a head kick at the end. That's the difficult one, I think, here.
That's a good point, though, because Brandon Moreno, while he's going to hit you with a cumulative damage, right, Deiveson Figueiredo believes in the power so much, you know, he's going to constantly be going for those big shots, probably going to eat 2 so he can land 1 big one, right? But this is the big X factor, AJ, here, man. This is not Las Vegas. This is not Los Angeles. This is not California. This is Brazil, brother. I think this is going to go down to a decision, in my opinion. The way that these fights have turned out, man, I think they know each other's styles too well. I think this goes down to a decision. A decision in Brazil. If Deiveson Figueiredo lands the bigger, harder shots, if he's able to knock Brandon Moreno down the same way that he did in the last fight and fights of previous, nature, How do you not see the judges giving it to Deiveson Figueiredo? How does Brandon Moreno upset a Brazilian champion in Brazil when it comes down to a decision when Deiveson Figueiredo, as the eye test, generally wins because he lands the bigger, harder punches?
You can't leave it to the judges, Derek, because I agree with you 100%. If this one, and taking Brazil out of the factor, man, even if this was anywhere else, I think Deiveson Figueiredo always passes the eye test. This dude just looks like he's winning the fight, regardless, is the problem. Even if he's getting pieced up, especially in a fight against Moreno, who's going to hit you with those 4-piece combos, Figueiredo just walks you down, man. He's looking like he's the big brawler right here. Usually gets the decision from the judges. I mean, that's a blanket statement because we all know how judging works in MMA, but that's just how it's been working, especially in Brazil, like going against the home crowd. Now, I also think that kind of plays into the hand of Moreno because he's that Mexican, man. He's that brawler. He's the dude who is willing to be put in those bad situations and rise above it all. It's kind of what Moreno stands for. It's kind of what he's been all about. Now, does he rise to the occasion in Brazil when he's getting booed on, when he has all this X's and O's against him? We're going to see. I think it is.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I'll tell you what, Brandon Moreno is at his best in terms of the eye test when he's doing the shrugs and he's laughing at you and doing all that while he's piecing you up. But Deiveson Figueiredo, when he's doing Deuce de Guerra, walking you down, big brother in you, it's just a different look. So let's take a look at the numbers. Opened up, -115 for Figueiredo, -105 for Brandon Moreno. So more or less a pick 'em. But when I show you the live odds as it stands right now, Brandon Moreno is actually a -125 favorite with the +105 comeback for Deiveson Figueiredo. So the odds makers are seeing it in favor of Assassin Baby. But let's take a look at these props. Decision prop for Figueiredo +225, decision prop for Moreno +210. Those, to me, decision is the most likely outcome in this 5-round fight. +350 for the TKO for Figgy, +550 for the TKO for Moreno. And then look at these submission props, man. +550 for Moreno and +1200 for Figueiredo. Given that both of these dudes can submit each other, given that both of these dudes could probably knock each other out, I like Figgy's power more. Which prop stands out the most to you to be the most lucrative?
Man, the most lucrative is that TKO prop for Figgy, man. +350 makes a lot of sense. He has the power. He has the skill to get it done now. Will Moreno be off a step? Will he get caught? Will the triple be hurting him? We'll see, man, because that one stands out a lot. And what's rough about this one, I agree with you, Derek. I think this one's going to a decision. Kind of a wash on the decision, man. A +210, not really too lucrative. If we see a submission, though, for Brandon Moreno or a ground and pound, TKO, then we're talking that +550 makes, a little bit more sense there. I don't know. What do you think, Derek, is the most lucrative?
I do like these props here. I like the Figgy +350 on the TKO, but if I'm looking at the live odds right now, I take Figgy at +105. You know what I mean? Because at this point, this should be a pick 'em in my eyes. Should be a pick 'em. You're giving underdog money to Figueiredo, even if it's just a scratch, +105. I would take that there. You can do a little hedge if you want to do a Brandon Moreno decision on the other side, but at the end of the day, I would probably roll with that money line. Now, before we move on to the next fight here, we need to talk about the elephant in the room that we have not discussed this entire segment. Let's not forget, Brandon Moreno, formerly at Glory MMA, formerly under the coach known as the James Krause. The James Krause that is undergoing betting scandals right now. The James Krause who has deleted the 1% podcast or 1% Club podcast. It's deleted. It's off of YouTube now. Lots of camp change for Brandon Moreno. I believe he is with the General now, Saif Saud, over there at Fortis MMA. At least that's the last thing that I recall. The point is, you have the turbulence in a camp preparing for a championship fight for the quadrilogy for Brandon Moreno, and then you have Deiveson Figueiredo, who's been smooth and steady, man, who nothing's really changed for him. Does that play into a factor in who you are picking as the winner of this fight?
Not really, Derek. So, I mean, it's a rough one because I'm expecting Moreno to just not think about it. They haven't really put it on any of the embedded, and I think for, legal reasons and obvious reasons. But, oh, man, it really has to play into effect. I mean, you don't have your coach there. You haven't had your coach there for going on 3 months now or so. You're in a new camp. You're the new area, new this, new that. You're fighting out of, your comfort zone, literally in enemy territory. I would imagine it plays into it, but I'm hoping not, brother. I didn't
Yeah.
take it into consideration. Might be an overlook on my part. What do you
Well,
think?
I'll tell you what, man. We don't trust embeddeds. We don't trust UFC media because that is state-sponsored propaganda right there, bro. Come on, think about it. They have their own best interests in mind when they're dispersing information and shedding light on that stuff. So, listen, I like Deiveson Figueiredo and still unanimous decision. Or split decision, some form of decision for Figueiredo in Brazil. I have a feeling it's going to be a very close one and a controversial decision, but I think that the Brazilian, Deiveson Figueiredo, is going to leave with gold around his waist, man. And clearly you see it for Brandon Moreno, so talk the people through it.
Clearly, I see it for Brandon Moreno. I think he's going to get it done, Derek. Now, as likely as I think a decision is right here, and as likely as a split decision, an iffy one like this, I'm actually taking that plus 550 submission, Derek, and I'm taking it in the third round. This one's going to be a tight one. I think Brandon Moreno knows that he cannot leave this to the judges in Brazil. He needs to finish him, and he needs to solidify that he is the champion. I'm going Moreno, like I said, third round submission.
And I like that because Moreno could arguably win those championship rounds when Figgy is tired, right? But you got to get to the championship rounds if you want to win the championship rounds. So, I don't know why I went blurry when I said that. That was almost a weird predicament. Either way, that's your co-main event, another title fight right there. Now, we can move on to a fun one, man, a welterweight clash. Gilbert Burns, Durinho Burns, number 5, ranked against number 12, Neil Magny. Now, you can really argue, man. Does Gilbert Burns deserve to be number 5 ranked in the world? Probably not. Like, this dude lost to Khamzat Chimaev and then got bumped to number 5 somehow, some way. Like, it doesn't really make sense, right? But you're fighting the Haitian sensation, man. Neil Magny is a dangerous man. He's a volume guy. He's a grinder. But Gilbert Burns, man, he passed a test. Even though he lost, he passed a test that a lot of people can't say that they passed. And Neil Magny himself said, oh, yeah, I went to train with Khamzat and I fucked around and I found out. Does that bode well, given that Gilbert Burns, when it came down to the grappling, I mean, Khamzat almost didn't really want to engage there, man. It was a stand-up war because Gilbert has that much to offer in terms of his jiu-jitsu repertoire, his wrestling repertoire, man. Do you think Neil Magny, his key to victory of winning this fight is staying on the feet and trying to pick at him at range? Like, what do you think is the plan of victory here?
It's either that or put a backpack on him right away, Derek. I think Neil Magny has the length advantage and has the speed advantage here. And I think he's going to have to work his kicks, his teeps, staying at range. But that's not really Neil Magny's game. I mean, yeah, he can get that done. Yeah, he's proficient on that. But he likes to be up in there close, grabbing you up, putting your backpack on you, smothering you, winning his type of fight. And now if Khamzat can't do that to Gilbert Burns, and I don't really see any other number of people that really could, I mean, how likely is Neil Magny going to be that he's going to go in there, put the backpack on, and choke out Durinho? I mean, not necessarily to me. But I think he does have a lot more likely outcome of keeping it range, piecing him up, throwing that jab down the pipe, front kick, jab down the pipe, working the angles, making it look technical, frustrating Gilbert in order for him to start rushing in, attacking when he's not really supposed to, making those little bits of mistakes, leaving his chin open, fighting with a little bit of ego, and then getting put to sleep. That's the way I kind of see it if you're a Neil Magny fan. What about you?
Well, I was just going to say, man, at the end of the day, like, Neil Magny does hold a couple of tangibles, I guess if you want to call it, that are going to be very helpful. One, you're like 5 inches taller than this dude, Gilbert Burns, and you have like a 9-inch reach advantage. So, yeah, the smart game is to stay at range and pick him apart. But that's not Neil Magny's game, as you just alluded to. He likes to walk you down. He likes to put pressure on you. Gilbert Burns has to close the distance. He has to grapple in this fight. I feel like that's the only way he can win this fight. But at the same time, we've often mentioned, and I'm going to leave this one quick, man. To me, this is a very decisive fight right here. I see it going pretty much one way, and I'll be very surprised if it goes the other way. I think that for Gilbert Burns, often overlooked, right? Or actually not often overlooked. He's overlooked in this fight, but Neil Magny is often the overlooked one. Gilbert Burns in this situation, even though the odds makers respect Gilbert Burns for what he has accomplished in the cage, I think the perception of it is Neil Magny's coming off of a big win. He's going to beat this dude, Gilbert Burns, who hasn't done anything notable, hasn't beat anybody. Like I said, Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev are like your most recent losses, bro. That's the cream of the crop right there. We cannot really beat you up too bad for that. But if Neil Magny is stick to just striking and just volume based, I think Gilbert Burns' power, his ability to grapple, close distance, and once again pass that eye test is just going to be a little bit too much for Neil Magny right here. Let's not forget, Gilbert Burns has a fantastic chin, right? So you're going to be able to take in a couple of shots in order to close that distance, go with those explosive, takedown attempts and all that clinch work. I really just see this as a a smash spot for Gilbert Burns right here. I think people have forgotten how good he is, and I think that even though all respect to the Haitian sensation, Neil Magny, monster of a man right there, Gilbert Burns does still belong in title contention right now. I don't know if you can say the same for Neil Magny. I think that he's a perennial top 5 to top 10 fighter, even though he's ranked number 12, but I think Gilbert Burns is top 1 to top 4. You know what I mean? So rant aside, do you got any give back, any pushback on there, or do you think that's a fair assessment?
Derek, I think the only thing I can add to that, because I agree with it 100% wholeheartedly, is I don't know what Dorino means, but I think it means iron, because Gilbert Iron Burns, bro, is hardcore. This dude has a chin, he has power, and Neil Magny is going to be an uphill battle it's going to be an uphill battle for Neil Magny on this one. Yeah, man, I just getting right into it. I think it's going to be Gilbert Burns, TKO. I'm thinking third round. If I had to guess, the over and under is 2.5. What is it, Derek?
The over and under on this fight, my friend, is going to be 2.5 rounds. But if you had to guess, what is the favorite? Over and under, what do you got?
I'd bet the favorite is the under, but I'm still sticking with the over on this one myself. Is it?
A trick question. I apologize. I didn't mean to fool you. Minus 115 a pop, man. Pick them for the over and under, man. They do not know if it'll go within the distance or to go to a decision, but I'll tell you what, man. If Gilbert Burns can implement a little bit of that Shavkat Rakhmonov that, Shavkat was able to do on Neil Magny, man, it's going to be a short night. I like Gilbert Burns here. This is a tough one, man, because I feel like I want to finish, but give me a decision. I want to finish, though, but give me a decision. And the reason I say decision is because I truly do respect Neil Magny, man. I think he's not a scrub or a walkover or a pushover. I just think Gilbert Burns is that good. So tell me again, what is your methodology?
TKO round 3. I also respect Neil Magny. I just think Gilbert Burns is going to have to take the third, man. He's going to have to do it long term right here.
Clearly not. No, I'm just joking, man. And then I did a little quick check for you, man. Dorino, I guess that more, I mean, you were close, man. Not iron, but like hard man, tough guy. You know what I mean? Like that's more or less what Dorino means. So, I mean, look at that forehead, bro. Like you fucking take hammers to that shit. Break the hammer. Either way. All right, man. Now let's move on to the sole women's bout on this main card. Lucky Lauren Murphy, ranked number 4, an indomitable force that just does not stop, versus what is it, Bate Estaca, right? Jessica Andrade. I hope I said that right? But at the end of the day, man, Jessica Andrade says, 2 weight classes. She says, I still need to go back to strawweight because I need to fight Wei Li. I need to fight Wei Li again. But then again, Valentina is right there, and I need to fight Valentina. Who else can say that they basically have fought both champions in both the divisions right there, pretty much got steamrolled by both, and is making an active effort to rematch them and defeat them both? You know what I mean? Like, that's how good Jessica Andrade is, and she could perennially stay in that top caveat of fighters. But she does have a tough test in front of her, man. Lauren Murphy is not a walkover, not a pushover. This is what I'm going to say here, AJ, and I want your opinion on this. Jessica Andrade said it herself. Lauren Murphy is a durable, tough fighter, and she can withstand a lot of damage. Is there any path to victory for a Lauren Murphy that does not involve getting pieced up on the way to trying to get that victory?
Unfortunately not, man. I mean, the bad part and the good part for Andrade, you see, she always has that one-touch power, and the bad part / the good part for Lucky Lauren Murphy is she can take a beating. She has a chin and a heart and is an indomitable, unbreakable spirit, and is down to scrap, man. Both of these fighters are down for the scrap. This makes it a very fun and exciting fight. I feel bad for Lauren Murphy here because I feel like she's getting overlooked. I mean, you can see it plus 360 on those odds and plus or minus 470 going across the board. It's rough because I feel like Lucky Lauren Murphy is just on this smash spot pedestal. Nobody's ever giving her any respect. Nobody's ever thinking she's going to be the one beating people up. And go up against Jessica Andrade, sure, Lucky Lauren Murphy might have the height advantage. I'm pretty sure she has the height advantage.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but not much other than that, man. I mean, this is going to be a fight. But if she can get it done, if there has to be a way, keep it at length. Keep her at bay. I mean, don't get grabbed up by a standing arm trial. Don't get your liver punched into oblivion. Don't get taken down and beat up. Sounds like a lot, Derek. Do you see any way for Lauren Murphy to win here?
Well, I think if she implements a similar strategy to Amanda Lemos, right, and that's the pressure fighter, right, bully the bully. I always say, man, in jiu-jitsu, so when I'm in the gym sometimes and I want to bully somebody, especially a bigger guy, that's what I want to do. I want to bully the big guy and I want to make them feel like the small guy. Well, you roll with somebody enough, they're going to learn your tricks, and they're going to be like, wait, I forgot, I'm bigger than you. How about I just bully you? And then when I'm getting pushed back, I'm uncomfortable. Jessica Andrade is much more comfortable moving forward than she is moving backwards. Lauren Murphy is much more comfortable moving forward than she is moving backwards. Lauren Murphy has a size advantage on Andrade, and Amanda Lemos, even though Lauren Murphy and Amanda Lemos, I'm not confusing these two fighters. Lemos got she packs a pop and not a lot of fighters pack. But she was able to really take Jessica Andrade off of her game by implementing that. But then Jessica Andrade pulled a Jessica Andrade and says, no, I'm just going to fucking, standing arm triangle. No worries. I think the size advantage for Lauren Murphy can definitely play a sizable role, especially in some grappling exchanges here. But I just think if Andrade lands clean, man, on Murphy, it's going to be a repeat of when Valentina Shevchenko, even though it was more of a volume style, she pieced Lauren Murphy up with like a 6-shot combo that kind of ended things, right, when their championship fight. Let's not forget this. Last 3 losses for Jessica Andrade, have all come, they're both Brazilian, man. They both, got the short hair. Sorry about that. Andrade's my favorite, so sorry about that. Last 3 losses, this is the point. Actually, last 4 losses. Valentina Shevchenko, current flyweight champion. Rose Namajunas, former strawweight champion. Zhang Weili, current strawweight champion. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former GOAT strawweight champion. Jessica Andrade is not to be denied. I see a TKO victory in the second round right here. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Don't even want to talk about the odds. I like Andrade. She has the youth, the power, the experience. She has pretty much every single thing that you can have in this fight. The one thing she does not have that we have seen out of a Lauren Murphy, man, is that Lauren Murphy just has the indomitable will to just walk forward relentlessly. It does not matter. Andrade, you get hit with the wrong shot, or you get hit with something, man. We've seen a little faltering, but I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Derek. I'm going for Jessica Andrade here. The problem is that unbreakable, indomitable will that we keep talking about for Lauren Murphy has me want to go for a decision win for Jessica Andrade. I'm seeing it your way though, man. I'm going to take the TKO. TKO round 2, Jessica Andrade.
And I don't want to be disrespectful here, man, because I really do appreciate a Lauren Murphy, man. I think she's earned her spot in the rankings, but I see Jessica Andrade TKO round number 1. I see it quick and early, get him out of here. Look at Amanda Lemos, first round TKO. So Cynthia Calvillo, first round, Amanda Lemos was the submission. Calvillo, first round TKO. Caitlin Chikagian, first round TKO. Rose Namajunas, when she beat her, second round TKO. Karolina Kovacevic, first round TKO. I'm just saying, Jessica Andrade, man, she finishes people. And people forget about that, I think, because a little bit of inactivity. But either way, that is your pick right there. And to conclude the madness that is UFC 283, what a matchup, bro. The Bear Jew, Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker, bro. My Lord. This is going to be a fun fight. This is going to be a really fun fight. And I'm actually a little surprised here, man. I'm a big Johnny Walker fan. I'm also a very big Paul Craig fan. I'm surprised to see Johnny Walker be the favorite here. Just because I feel like he's memeified himself. He's turned into a meme. People don't respect him for the hyped up fighter that he was once upon a time. They just see him getting comically knocked out by Jamahal Hill. They see him doing the worm and dislocating a shoulder, right? But they also see a knockout, big, tall, athletic, knockout artist, right? I don't think people see Johnny Walker for what he is, and that is a very talented grappler who can also knock your block off, who's also an incredible athlete. It was going to be really hard to take down. And what have we seen with Paul Craig recently? It takes a lot of damage in order to pull guard, in order to get the takedown. And if he does not get it, Volkan Ozdemir style, it leads to a lot of damage in the future. So you tell me, man, am I overly sold on Johnny Walker, even though he's had poor performances as of late, or is Paul Craig simply just that good?
No, man. I mean, this is actually another fight where I was back and forth the entire time. Johnny Walker catches a lot of flack because he's this boisterous, flamboyant kind of character who doesn't always win the fights that he was supposed to win. He'll come in there, he can knock your block off at any point, or sometimes he just doesn't perform, and then he's getting put to sleep. There's a number of things that Johnny Walker has done in his career that a lot of people say, he should have taken the other step this way or that. Like you said, doing the worm in the middle of the cage after you just knocked somebody out, great call. But you ended up, separating your shoulder, bad call. Paul Craig, the rough thing about him is he is so consistent that you know what he's got to do, Derek. Like you said, man, he has to pull guard. He doesn't even shoot for he does shoot takedowns, through the fight, but the majority of his takedowns are always pulling guard. And if you get caught up in that, which Johnny Walker is such a great jiu-jitsu player, wrestler, fantastic athlete, like you said, he's so explosive. I think he can avoid all of that from Paul Craig. That's very, very difficult, because then when you have the that of Paul Craig, and you're just consistently walking you down, trying to pull you in, trying to smother you, trying to at least get his hands on you, and you're as explosive as Johnny Walker is, you get tired, man. You have that. And whereas Paul Craig is so consistent, I feel like he's going to get Johnny Walker tired, which has been a point of contention throughout his entire career. I don't know. Are you as mixed as matched as I am on this one, Derek, or what do you think?
I'm 100% completely torn on this one because on one hand, I'm like, Paul Craig, easy win. You watch, it's like, oh my God, death, taxes, Paul Craig submission. Like it's all the times where I'm like, oh, he's not going to pull off another submission. Boom, submission. I'm like, God damn, I should have bet the house on Paul Craig right here. Until that last fight against Volkan Ozdemir, where I picked what? Paul Craig submission, and then what does Volkan Ozdemir do? He had to run away a couple of times, man. He had him in some nasty leg locks, but you didn't finish. You're slippery. It's no gi, man. You know what I mean? You ain't got no shirt or nothing on. Like, I just think this. Johnny Walker is not just your average fighter. Paul Craig is 6'3", a man of a man, 76-inch reach. Johnny Walker is literally a specimen of a human, 6'6", 82-inch reach, built like an Adonis, who can also knock your block off, who also has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. It's just cheat code here. Now, what is the one thing, AJ, that everybody I think can agree on? Mental fortitude. Who has it more? Paul Craig, of course. And that's the key right here. Paul Craig might be able to gut something out that we haven't seen Johnny Walker gut out recently, but then we arrive to the numbers. Minus 135 for the TKO victory for Johnny Walker. Can I see it? 1,000,000%. You pull a guard the wrong way one time, you get one shot rained down on check your chin, you're done. This is not a dude who you can play that game of let me just take a bunch of damage with. Johnny Walker's the last guy that you want to do that with, right? Even Volkan Ozdemir, I was like, God damn, Paul Craig is surviving these shots. How is he doing it? I don't think you survive those shots if you're doing it against Johnny Walker. So as much as I love Paul Craig, I have found that his offensive wrestling is not really where it needs to be. And when you're trying to wrestle a very humongous person who is a lot bigger than you, it's a lot harder. It's easier said than done. Take it from experience, man. I wrestle big guys all day. It's not fun at all. And the consequences of not getting that shot are pretty substantial. So I think if you're Paul Craig, you're working leg locks here. That's the number one thing you're working. But AJ, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The downside to not securing a leg lock is that you have almost no other control over the other person's body, so they can just start punching your face in, no problem. Not a good thing. What other paths to victory are there for Paul Craig? That's the limiting aspect of this matchup here, is that there's very one dominant way for him to win. Johnny Walker, I just think, has way more ways to win.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Derek. And I think it's going back to what I was saying before about Paul Craig, is that consistency is going to matter in this fight for him. If he stays with that consistent path, that one path we're talking about, Paul Craig by submission, if he stays there, I think it'll pay dividends throughout the fight because Johnny Walker is inconsistent in the way he fights. Mm-hmm. If Johnny Walker can come out there and put a technical battle and actually stay composed and stay like the fighter that his coach has been trying to make him, Johnny Walker is a hell of a fight. Like, that is a specimen, like you said, Derek, technical, athletic, explosive. Or he's going to fight like the normal Johnny Walker we see, where this dude comes in with a little bit of an ego. He's fighting. He's throwing these big punches, winging shots out of nowhere, getting a little crazy. And I think it's in that craziness where Paul Craig is going to find his opening, find that point where he can actually slip something in, leg lock him up, put a backpack on him. In that explosiveness that is a gift to Johnny Walker, I think Paul Craig is going to find his gift of cinching something up in there, in that madness, in that turnaround. But like I said, Derek, I agree with you. If Johnny Walker can put this as a technical thing, piece him up, throw those long shots, put Paul Craig down when he's on the ground trying to go for something like that. You know, like you said, when he's going for a leg lock and Johnny Walker just reaches over with that 8-foot arm and punches Paul Craig in the face, it's going to be hard to really survive any of that if you're Paul Craig. Now, like I said, man, what do you think? Do you think Paul Craig can actually capitalize on that explosiveness, on that aggression, or is it going to be too slippery in there, Johnny Walker, all day long?
I think he can. I don't think it's a matter of if can he, it's will he, right? I think he can do it. It's all going to come down to that one split-second decision, and if you're a betting man, you're literally betting on fractions of a second determining the outcome of the fight. So with that being said, man, I'll cut straight to it. Give me Johnny Walker. Give me a second-round TKO against Paul Craig. Not because I want to see this happen to Paul Craig. This is one of my favorite fighters, simply because I don't see how every aspect of this fight does not favor Johnny Walker. I think this is a terrible matchup for Paul Craig, but I think he's that game that he doesn't give a damn. You know what I mean? So give me the second round TKO. How do you see it for Paul Craig?
I think Johnny Walker's actually the better fighter, but not the better fighter does not always win here, Derek. I'm taking Paul Craig, and I'm taking a first round submission. I was going to go second, but I'm going to go first round submission while they're still dry. And hopefully in Brazil, they let Johnny Walker wear a knee brace or an ankle brace or something like that. And he's got a little bit of grip going in there.
You know, Johnny Walker going to be putting some lotion on before the fight, man. Grease up. Like, come on, bro. Listen, we can't have none of that. Folks, that is your UFC 283 main card. We just break the whole entire thing down for you. So run to your local sports book, come back, thank us in the post show. You know what time it is, but we still got a little bit of work to be done. And now it's for the fun part. This is the sleepers. These are the fights that you didn't know about, but you definitely need to check out. Let's talk about it.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, man. So there's one fight on here that's not a sleeper, and neither of us really have mentioned it, but we have to just talk about it really quickly. This is a sleeper, and this is going to be a consensus Bloody Water podcast sleeper. It has to be. And the reason why is because this is a man who is a legend of the sport. This is a man who paved the sport. This is, if you did not idolize this man and grow up watching this man, then I can clearly tell you're probably from a new generation and you ain't really a fan of the old school MMA. We're talking about Mauricio Shogun Rua, man, making his retirement fight against Ihor Potieria, right? A man we've talked about before, we've covered here on this program. This is all that I want to say. Before we jump into our actual sleepers, man, give some respect. Watch Shogun's fight. This is the retirement bout. He said there's no half-ins, half-outs. I'm done after this. No more sports, no more fighting, all that. This is a legend. Shogun Rua is one of the best to absolutely do it. So I just had to share some light. Do you have any words on Shogun Rua before we move on to the other sleepers?
One, Derek, I got to agree with you. If you are a fan of fighting, you're a fan of Mauricio Shogun Rua. And if you're not, man, you need to go back. You need to go to the Pride days, the IFC, man. This dude has been doing it since day one. A fighter who has fought people from Chuck Liddell, Mark Coleman, Alistair Overeem. I mean, the new school to the old school, and he gets Ihor Potieria on this one. I'm excited to see Shogun back at it. And for a fighter who, in my opinion, this has been coming. This has been growing and growing. So I'm excited to see him retire, but I'm also excited to see him kind of in a smash spot. And not necessarily because Ihor is a bad fighter, but because there just seems to be this ethos going around Shogun. But this is also the time for somebody to make a name on one of the legends leaving the sport. So don't count Botelho out, man. This is going to be a very fun one. I'm excited for Shogun. I was trying to look at what one of my favorite fighters from Mauricio Shogun who would be. I was thinking, what was the one where we had those axe kicks coming down the top, man?
Oh, man.
Was it, man, I can't even remember. But what about you, Derek? You got one off the top of your head?
A really, really good fight that I'd have to say between Shogun and anybody else, man. I love his Chuck Liddell fight where he knocked out Chuck Liddell back in 2009. I mean, listen, the Dragon Machida, right? Knocked him out too, first round. I mean, he knocked out Mark Coleman in the third round. He's got a lot of good ones, man. You have to go back, though. For me, you have to go back about a good 10, 15 years for like those big wins, man. I mean, come on, back in Pride, dude's knocking out Kevin fucking or he knee-barred Kevin Randall, man. He knocked out Alistair Overeem. Folks, if you don't put respect on Shogun Rua's name, just get out of here. What are we talking about? All right, AJ. Now, let's make a little transition. Let's talk about some sleepers. I'm going to make mine short and sweet. Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. You've heard of this man plenty of time. I've mentioned him plenty of time. I've been on the hype train since he lost in Dana White Contender Series. I was still on the hype train to a middleweight that's no longer in the UFC. It's going to go down as like one of the most odd, like you lost to that guy, Jordan Williams. Anyways, man, RoboCop fights Bruno Ferreira, and this is a sleeper because Bruno Ferreira is coming in short notice to fight RoboCop. What do you know? RoboCop was actually slated to fight. Let me actually take a peek who he was slated to fight, man, because this was going to be a good fight. Brad Tavares, the mean fight in Hawaiian, Brad Tavares, man. But instead you get Bruno Ferreira. So you have knockout artist versus knockout artist, and this is what you got to love about Gregory Rodriguez. After getting your face split open against Chitty Bang Bang Njokuani, and coming off of a win against Julian Marquez, you're fighting the biggest, baddest people with the most knockout power, and he doesn't care if there's no clout on this man's name. Coming from Dana White Contender Series, he's willing to put his ranking that he doesn't have, but his proverbial ranking on the spot. If you want to see gore, violence, blood, and people getting massive amounts of head trauma, you need to watch this fight, and that's all that I can say about it. It's going to be a banger knockout alert. Stay tuned. You could see a submission from Gregory Rodriguez too. You never know. But AJ, brother, now we need to talk about yours. So kick it off, man. Introduce. Who do you got?
This one's a fun one, Derek, man. T-Rex is back in the building. Terrence McKinney versus Ishmael Bonfim. If I said that correctly, man. This is a fun one. Might be a smash spot, but Bonfim has his ways to come back in this fight, man. This dude's riding a 5-fight win streak, coming in off the Contender Series. You always know whenever the fighters are getting a dub by decision on the Contender Series, Dana White has seen a history of knockout and success that's going to be leading this fighter into the UFC. Now, that being said, Derek, T-Rex is the real deal, bro. T-Rex, Terrence McKinney. He might have blown out his ACL on his intro into the UFC, but after that, this dude has been putting on. And yeah, he did drop one to Drew Dober. It was a rough one, but I think T-Rex learned from it. He came back, got a submission in his next fight. In my opinion, a smash spot, but Bonfim has his ways to come back, so don't doubt this dude. Make sure you tune in early. It's not the first or second fight on the card, but it is about the third or fourth, so make sure we're tuning in. There's a lot of really, really good fights on this card. Excuse me, folks, it's the fifth now that I'm looking, but either way, make sure you tune in. It's a pay-per-view. It's an early pre-card or early prelims, so make sure you're there. Go to your sports bar, go to your links, whatever you got to do. Make sure, and even if you got to pay, you're paying for the pay-per-view, make sure you get it in. It's going to be a fun one to watch.
100%, man. And I wanted to actually ask you this, man. It's like T-Rex, man. He's almost like a best kept secret. There we go. Apologies about that. Look at the last couple of fights he's had. Matt Steamroller Favola. You get the Smile Killer, Fares Ziam. You got Drew Dober, which that was a fucking monster clash matchup. And then Eric Gonzalez, the Ghost Pepper, or whatever his nickname is. And now you fight Bonfim. Why? This is not like a canceled short notice. You get this guy. It's like, why are they not elevating him quicker? He's knocking everybody out, submitting everybody. What are we missing here? Why is he not getting stiffer opposition?
Man, I think it's because everybody in the 155-pound division class is staying silent, and when they see a young killer on the rise, then nobody wants to fight him, man. I mean, we've said it for a couple years now on the show, but even years before that, a lot of these top 15 fighters in the 155-pound division, we don't see him fight but one, maybe two times a year. And I think a lot of people are scared to fight T-Rex. What do you think?
No, I think you have a point, man. I wouldn't want to fight the man either. He's knocking everybody out in like fucking first round, man. He's just starching people. And the fight that he lost against Drew Dober, he was winning all of that fight until he wasn't. So yeah, man, definitely sleepers you got to watch out for. Now, AJ, we're running pretty late on time, so we're not going to be able to hit a bunch of prelims, but I just wanted to talk about 1 to 2 bouts real quick. And the number one bout that I wanted to talk about, and you know what, man? I feel like we have been missing something. There we go. I needed a whoosh. That whoosh felt right. Without the whoosh, it just doesn't feel right. The fight that I want to talk about here, man, is the fight that's going to make this prospect, who I actually awarded Rookie of the Year. He's going to be entering the top 15 after this fight in the heavyweight division. And if he isn't, there's a travesty at hand. And what I'm talking about, folks, is I'm talking about Jailton Almeida taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov. To me, Abdurakhimov, you're just a placeholder in the rankings right now, part of the old guard. Jailton Almeida is going to come in. I have a prediction that by the end of this year, he will be in the top 15 in both the 265-pound and the 205-pound divisions. That's how good of a fighter this is. If there was a catchweight 220-pound division, he would be in the top 15 of that one too. That's how good this dude is. You tell me, man, am I overhyping the man, or is he going to get either a decisive decision or a first round, second round finish against Abdurakhimov? Or am I hyping him up?
No, I think this is a smash spot. I don't, by all means, I don't think Abdurakhimov is necessarily a placeholder, but he's probably a stepping stone for Jailton Almeida, dude. I'm glad they are putting Almeida on a pay-per-view card where he's going to get a lot of vice. He's going to get a lot of hype. This is going to be a very, I'm trying to think of a good word, but this is going to be a beneficial spot for Almeida coming in right here.
That's right, man. And really, like, the main thing that it's like, no disrespect to Abdurakhimov, fantastic fighter. I just think that Jailton Almeida is like, they're just waiting at this point. It's like, this is the guy right here. I know it. I feel it in my bones. Last bout that I wanted to just check out real quick, man. Worley Alves versus Nicholas Dalby, man. Dalby has kind of come down a little bit from the pedestal that he was once on, this karate fighter who was like having a lot of success, and then all of a sudden things get a little bit weird, man. You look at his last fight, he did get the win against Claudio Silva, who is no longer in the UFC. He just retired, but you did lose that decision to Tim Means. And I'm not saying that it was a bad you know, I'm not saying he's a bad fighter or anything like that. He's a fantastic fighter, man. Only one loss in the last how many fights, right? But the win that he did against in 2020 against Daniel Rodriguez, people are calling that very controversial, that he shouldn't have won that fight. So the question is going to become, like, my question to you is ultimately, like, what's the ceiling for Nicolas Dalby? That's more of why I wanted to bring this up.
I actually think it's a lot lower than previous, Derek. I feel like due to inactivity, due to kind of the slip up you're talking about in the Tim Means fight, which, don't get me wrong, man, you got an L to the Dirty Bird. That's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
I feel like Nicolas Dalby has really taken a backward step in his career trajectory right here. And probably not a fight he's taking that's going to be propelling him forward either. I mean, you get a win on Orly Alves, good. You're supposed to. You're Nicolas Dalby. You're ahead in the rankings of him, and you're supposed to be a better fighter, more well-known. Or you lose to Orly Alves, which is a hell of a fighter all in his own right. And this dude is a live dog. I don't even have the odds cards up. I'm assuming that he's the dog right here. Oh, it's near even, 115 actually. So Orly Alves is the favorite.
Very slight
Oddsmakers
favorite,
see it differently. Very slight favorite right there. Could be because of the trajectory. I don't know. Do you see a very high ceiling for Dalby?
I still see it, man. I still see it. I think this dude can be very, very good, but you have to pick up the pace. This is my biggest problem, inactivity, man. One fight in 2021, one fight in 2022. Hopefully we have more than one fight in 2023. Good thing is you're starting the card off in January. So, yeah, good news, man. That's all that we have right there, man. With that being said, oh, man, lots of good fights, man. This is going to be a really, really good spot. First pay-per-view of the year. We're international. We're in Brazil. This is the thing that we need to check real quick, man, just to let the people know in terms of a programming note. Okay, not too bad. Early prelim start, 3 p.m., my time, Pacific time. What am I doing here? This is an international program. I don't know what time zones you guys are, but just know, Pacific time, 7 p.m. main card, 5 p.m. prelims, 3 p.m. early prelims. Do your time conversions if you feel that you must, but that is it for us. AJ, any last words before we get out of here today?
Derek, biggest thing, folks, thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you made it to this point, always make sure you go out and check me out at Twitch, twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber, as well as make sure you hit the subscription button, subscribe right here on YouTube. We're trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers and we're staying diligent on it. If you're ever making some money, hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Twitter, let us know which spots you're betting and which ones you're winning, so that way we can post it, get you on the show as well, man. Start making some waves out here in the MMA community and really get things going. What do you think, Derek?
And no, you hit it on the head right there. I don't have a lot to plug for myself here personally, folks, but if there's one time that you can catch me being actually active, like on Twitter, that's on fight night. I live tweet during the fights. I like doing it. I like to kind of tweet out what I'm seeing here, and we can engage in some pretty good back and forth fandom as opposed to like what is actually taking place on the screen, right? So at the end of the day, hit up my boy on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. The number one thing I care about is that you subscribe to this show, because this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. What more can you ask for? Folks, catch us back on Monday for the post show, and that's all we got. Until next time, folks. Peace.